Welcome to Insight Builder channel, large language model automators, Python experts, and my dear friends. A step-by-step guide to move the large language models to GUI using PysimpleGUI, improving the performance of the GUI application using LLM. The goal: to integrate the large language models like OpenAI's ChatGPT or Google's Bard or whichever kind of large language model that you're talking about, and integrate with the GUI application and provide the option for offline LLMs also. So this is an overarching goal. So we will start by the first step of integrating the LLMs to in this particular discussion. In order to do that, we need to follow these steps. But before we go into the steps, let me show you the user interface. Now you see that in this particular user interface, I've already provided the OpenAI API key here. Okay, and I have already I've attached the FICE index. So I'm not, I will be explaining to you all these things in a couple of minutes. I've attached the FICE index location where I have already located, and then I'm going to provide the key. I'm going to provide the query. So what you can share. So this is a basic, direct question that I'm going to ask, and I'm going to say get output. And the moment I click on this get output, so you see the GUI had increased in length, and this is happening because this is the entire length of the GUI that has been created. So you see documentation can help with memory, providing an organized and accessible source of information. So this is reply that is coming from the FICE index that is already available, and it has been populated in the GUI itself. So this is the final goal that we are going to achieve in this particular discussion. Okay, let us go back to the PDF. These steps, we have to first of all understand how to create the GUI. In case of creating the GUI, we have a library called as PysimpleGUI. But you might be wondering, Kamal, why? So you are telling that we have to create Integrate LLM with GUI, but why are we doing this? What is the point? We have a command line interface which is more than sufficient for us. Correct. I have been in that impression for a long time, and all my videos till now has been primarily working on even scripting, Python scripting also has been working on CLIs only. But why am I trying to work with the GUIs? Okay, so here is the reason. Let me go to the browser for a moment, and the PysimpleGUI team has been very kind enough to share a couple of interesting information. This is one of the comic that has been shared. You see, there are lots of users who want to use the new technologies like AI and the VR, etc. But in order for them to use it and make it useful for them, we need to actually create GUIs that interface these technologies with these users. So you yourself will have a lot of relatively novice users of computers, and they are best introduced to GUI in the beginning, and then later introduced to CLI. So this is one of the key aspects, key reasons why I wanted to start introducing GUI. Okay, then you might be thinking, why go with PysimpleGUI? The PysimpleGUI reason is very simple. Because PysimpleGUI is a wrapper around various other GUI applications like tkinter, Qt, wxPython, etc. You don't need to know how Qt works, how tkinter works. All you need to know is how to work with PysimpleGUI. That's it. So PysimpleGUI is a wrapper around various other GUI applications, and they make it so easy for you guys to create an application. So the application that you saw here, this application has been created with PysimpleGUI, and in the backend I used Langchain for integrating with OpenAI, and all this has happened. And you see, it's not an awesome GUI layout. Okay, you might be thinking, Kamal, this doesn't look really good, but the point here is that this is the first draft of the application. This is what do you call? This is the first project output that you have created, and it is fair enough to create such a output, right? So this is what I am right now targeting. Let us go back to the PDF. So how to actually understand PysimpleGUI and start creating such an application or window. That is a key point I wanted to share here. So whenever you must have already seen that I have been introducing various libraries. So if you go back to the browser and if you go to my playlist, right, I have been introducing lots of other libraries. Like I recently introduced Vertex AI, and previously I have also introduced about transformers. I have also introduced about TXT AI. So if you guys have been following up all these libraries, how to learn really fast. Okay, the key is that you actually don't learn the libraries, you actually understand what kind of problems they solve, and then what you do is you refer the libraries examples side by side and you create your application. That is what I have done in this case. So all I had to do was to go through the documentation, not even the documentation. I had to go through the cookbook that has been provided by the PysimpleGUI team. You can take a look at the cookbooks in their main website. And once you start, so documentation, call, and cookbook. So if you go here, there are more than 300 demo programs. All you need to do is understand how these programs are working. For that, you might be thinking, okay, that is, really good, Kamal, but how will I even start? Where to start? So what happens is, in the quick tour, they give, even if you go down here, right? So they give you a lot of a simple way of working with PysimpleGUI. So this is one of the simplest program that you can write. That is a pop-up, and you can immediately see that what kind of, so this is another one step where you are getting the input from the user, the browser, the file browsing option that you are getting it, and also the logic, how to apply it, that is also provided. And here comes the most simplest GUI application that I have ever seen. So what they are doing is, you see, this is the theme that they are the programmer is initiating, and this is the layout. So this is the key. So this is the layout that we are providing, and the window is getting initiated here. This is the application window, and then the event loop starts. This is all it takes for creating this application, and it is actually simple. I actually don't need to even explain to you this, but the reason why I'm doing this is that many of us don't approach the library thinking that there will be a lot of information and it will be difficult for us to execute it. Actually, it's not. Most of the time, all you need to learn is very basic things and then start building from that. Let us go back to the application. So you see, this application is very similar to what you see in this particular location. So there is a way to browse. Okay, so I understood how to create the file browser. I understood how to use the event loops and also getting the values, etc., from this particular introduction, and then I started building. Moreover, when I start building, right, what I do is I create this window separately. There will be two windows inside my monitor. One window will have this particular documentation here, and in another window I will have the terminal running where I give the code, where I type the code. In that way, what will happen is, if I have any doubts, I can immediately refer the demo programs and I can start working from the working using their application. So this is how I excuse me. This is how I develop most of the applications. Now let us go back to the presentation. I have told you how to understand PysimpleGUI. Now, what is the most simplest layout? That also we saw. The simplest layout that we are going to create is that we need to get the key, we need to get the vector store, and we need to enter the query and get the answer. This is the layout we want. You might even take this reply and put it down here, so no one is going to question why you did that. At the end of the day, this is the layout I decided, so you can also always change it. The reason why I took this layout is I want to show that we can actually separate and create two columns. That is the main intention of creating this kind of a layout. Okay, and let us go back to the presentation. Once you decide the layout, you need to think how to integrate the vector stores, how to call the LLM, and how to display the output. So all these three steps, I got the help of Langchain. As you see here, the parrot, this is Langchain library that I have been introducing for a long time right now. And a long time in the sense last 4 months. It's pretty long time in the development arena. And then you see that with the fifth step, this particular application is complete. This particular application is completed at the step 5, that is displaying the output. So you see the output that got displayed in this location. There itself it got completed. Let us go back. What we can do next is you can actually improve this application by thinking about creating vector stores based on the documents that you are providing. You can incorporate memory and voice in this application also. You have to think a little bit more deeper. You have to go and understand the PysimpleGUI a little better, and then you have to proceed. But till then, you can actually try this 4-5 steps also. That is more than sufficient. Okay, I am going to right now tell you some of the details about PysimpleGUI. So I have already told that you have to understand PysimpleGUI, but in this discussion I will also introduce. So I'm not going to directly jump into the code. So what we are going to do is we are going to go to the browser back, and then what we are going to do is we are going to work on the something called as Trinket. So this particular pysimplegui.trinket.io, this particular link also will be shared with you guys in the YouTube video description. This particular Trinket PysimpleGUI is a way of understanding how to work with PysimpleGUI. So this particular cookbook, so Trinket is a kind of a web cookbook that has been updated by the PysimpleGUI team, and they clearly explain how to go about creating the applications. There are 3 steps. That is, step 1, we start by defining the layout. This is the layout area. Layout is a variable which is actually a nested list of GUI parts. So text, input box, button, all these are parts of GUI. So the layout will contain the parts of the GUI. And then step 2 is the window creation. So window, let me go to the Bartmaster. So this is the window creation that you see here. This particular area that you see, that is the window that has been created. And let us go back to the browser. And the third part is where we interface with we create the logic. So we have seen already we have seen how to create the layout. We have using the parts, we have the window. Next, what we have to do is we have to create a logic of what will happen when something is clicked or some input is provided, and how to get the provided input and start working with it. All these things happens in this location. Some things that we need to understand here is there are 2 kinds of inputs. One is the events, and another is the data or the values that we provide, like the folder location or the OpenAI API key that we shared. All these things are taken by using the window.read method. So this is the step, it does all the magic. Once the window is read, so this window is read in a continuous loop. So this is the while loop that we create. This is a continuous loop. It doesn't break unless we use some kind of a close. So you see here we are using sg.win.closed or event equal to exit. So either of this happens, then only the loop will break. But till then, the Python code will start reading the window continuously. That is how you are getting the events and values. This is how simple it can get to create the GUI application. You as a novice, you don't need to really understand how the GUI parts need to be positioned, how to size it. Everything has been automated and it has been taken care by PysimpleGUI application itself. All these things actually remove us from thinking about unwanted details, right? Our detail is to link the large language model with the GUI, right? And with that simple code that you saw there, you already understood PysimpleGUI. Yeah, you understood how PysimpleGUI works. But what are we going to do next is one of the challenging parts. Let us go back to the browser. See, what happens is, creating the interface is most of the challenge, like creating the front end. So if you guys are aware of front end and back end, then front end can be pretty complex, right? It is not going to be simple. It is not going to be simple 3-part GUI process. It's going to have lot more. So how to work with more complex? First of all, let us start with simple design patterns and then go to complex design patterns. So this is the simplest window that gets created. So when you use Trinket, you can actually see the various demo programs and see how you can create those windows. And if you come to this particular dashboard, you can see that there are various other options available also. Go through them, and once you go through these couple of options available, then you can start creating interesting front ends first. And then once you create the front end, you need to create the logic. So creating the logic, there are two key points I want you guys to learn. Okay, this is something that PysimpleGUI does it very nicely, but still I wanted to give you this information. The values will contain two kinds of information. Values is first of all a list, and also it is a dictionary also. So whenever you are considering it as values 0, values 1, values 2, this is all will be from the text file. The text box is available here, so it will take from there and it will assign it to value 0, value 1, value 2, etc. It is a kind of an index that we use for the list inside Python. I'll be showing you the examples. And the next is that if you are going to use browser, so let us go back further down, and just give me a moment. So if you take a look at this particular page where we are looking at all the elements available inside the PysimpleGUI, you see there are various types of elements. It's not just one or two. All the kinds of elements, images, etc. can be pulled into this particular window. So once you get this things inside the window, so how to access this input, so all these inputs are in part of values array. So value index 0 will be this input, value index 1 will be multi-line input, value, this is an output location, so where you will actually give the output. Like this we can actually give the data. And when you are going to have something like scroll bars, when you are going to have something like the radio buttons, just a minute. So if you are going to have just a minute. Yeah, if you're going to have buttons, so this button will have a name, and once you click on that button, whatever is assigned to that name will be the value. These things has to be practiced whenever I am explaining. So I have seen a lot of videos where the lot of explanation goes on, but the key to learn programming or to get such kind of application working is to actually type it yourself and see what happens based on the understanding that you have learned from the video or from the documentation. I also have reviewed a couple of videos on PysimpleGUI. They have a very good Udemy course also. What I suggest you guys is take any of those videos, keep it side by side with your VS Code or IDE and start typing the code, and then you will be able to get the things working really, really fast. Okay, so these are the basic things that I wanted to share with you guys in this particular discussion, and I want to go to the next step. Next step is where let us go back to the presentation. Now I have introduced you the understanding of PysimpleGUI, understanding of the simple layout, but now we have to integrate the vector stores. Now we have to integrate Langchain. How are you going to do that? This is where we are going to get into the actual code where I show you that how it is being done. So I want you guys, as I always say, I believe that you like this content. Do leave a like, share it with others, because sharing is one of the most important aspect of the current trend, because new technologies are coming rapidly, and if you don't share it and learn from each other, it is going to be a challenge for everyone. So do share it with others, teach them what is going on so that they can come up to speed really fast. Many of my friends whom I have spoken, they have this thinking that if they have to learn a new technology, it is going to take a lot of time, which is really not the case. You have to spend a considerable amount of time, but with your experience and with your knowledge, you can actually create logical connections between various technologies, and you can learn really fast. This is one of the key points that I wanted to also share in this particular discussion. So keep this. Finally, do subscribe to my channel for further updates on not just large language models, but on various Python related libraries. With that said, let me go back to the browser. This particular code that you see here, this is the code that has been already uploaded to the GitHub repo, and this particular link also will be shared with you guys. This particular repo contains not just PysimpleGUI. This repo contains various code related to Streamlit also. So if you guys want to browse this repo, feel free. I have used the repo, the Streamlit code from another one YouTuber who was kind enough to share his code with the viewers. So I have been practicing. So this particular repo is a practice ground for me from that particular YouTuber. So I am really grateful for that person also. Now, what is happening here is that initially, let me zoom in a bit. I'm just going to walk you through the code so that you guys can understand what is going on and you can implement it yourself and try to tweak it a bit. I start by creating pulling in the various libraries here, various primitives from Langchain, and I'm importing the PysimpleGUI also. Once I do that, next thing is I'm going to create the layout. So this is a 3-part layout. So you see this has column 1 and there is a separator and there is column 2. The column 1 contains the various inputs like the text input that I'm going to create, the browsing folder that you are going to use for the vector store, and then the query text input. The text input for the OpenAI API key is going to be value 0, and the query that you are going to enter is going to be value index 1. This I will be showing in the logic in a couple of minutes. In order to refer to the folder location, we are going to use the key called as folder. So whenever you are going to create this layout, you have to provide the kind of a method that you are going to use. So here we are saying that I am going to use the method called as in, that is in sg.in, and I give the folder key here and I ask it to browse. And you see this entire part is made into a single element inside the list. So this is the main list starting point, and these are all sub lists. And this particular list will take care of the folder browsing option, and this particular element will take care of the input text where you provide the query, and this particular element will take care of the buttons. Sometimes what happens, it becomes difficult to understand the abstraction. So I am telling, okay, guys, this particular folder is the key that we need to use to refer to the data that has been collected from this folder browse primitive. This is what I am telling you. But this becomes difficult for us to memorize. So you don't need to memorize it. When you are going to learn, when you are going to make your own applications, keep this particular code as a reference and then start working on your application. And whenever you are facing a doubt, then see how I have created the application and then try to re-code your application. In that way, you can learn faster. Rather than reading the documentation, trying to understand it, by looking at others' code, you can learn really fast. So this is a basic introduction I have provided. So I have imported the libraries, I have imported the various, I have created the layout with the parts, and then what I'm doing is I am starting this particular window. So let us go back to the bot master. So this particular window that you see here, this window is getting created using this particular code. It's a single line of code, and you don't see this layout, this particular title, because in Linux, in my version of Linux, the title bar is not shown. So in your case, if you are using Windows, you will be able to see that. And ensure that if you are getting any error from the PysimpleGUI, then you might have to install tkinter or qt. This is something that you guys have to do, and always the best friend is going to be Google. If you're facing any kind of error, you can check it out in Google and you'll be able to sort it out immediately. Also, PysimpleGUI requests us to, if you're facing an error which is unresolvable by using Google or anything, visit their GitHub issues page. So the PysimpleGUI GitHub issues page is full of information. Visit there, you will be able to see a lot of people who have already mentioned their problems and it has been solved. So take a look at there first. Okay, with that said, let us go into the logic. This is where the key point is. So think about it. When you have to, if you're going to use CLI for connecting with the vector store, what you will do? you will have to first of all have the OpenAI API key as the environment, correct? This is where it starts first. You have to create that. How are you going to do that? All we have to do is you have to give the value index 0. So this particular we created, right? Value index 0. So this input text has to contain the OpenAI API key, and that gets assigned to the internal environmental variable. So this is done. Once I create the event loop, I get the event.values from Windows read. So once the loop starts, this will start reading the window, and it will get the OpenAI API key, and then it will assign it to the environmental variable. And next, what it will look for is whether I am trying to close the window. So if there is no event that says Windows is closed, or there is no event from close, so let me go back to the bot master. You see the close, the button name close, this button name close, and going back to the browser, and this particular event, the name of the event, it is same. So that is how PysimpleGUI keeps track of which button you are clicking. This is something that also you need to understand. And then if you are saying Windows equal to closed, in my case, I cannot show you the title bar, so I cannot show you the Windows closed. So if you use Alt F4 or click on the close button, then sg.windows closed event will get triggered. This is the starting point. Now next is we want to get the folder. So in order to get the folder, let us go back to the bot master. What you will do, in order to input the folder, you have to click on this browse button. And once you click on the browse button, and a pop-up will open, and that window will have the folder options that is available, correct? In that case, let us go back to the browser. In that case, what will happen is if there is an event for this particular key, this is what I'm checking. If there is an event, then I will go and get the values of this particular folder. So once I do this, then I can use that. So you see I am printing it and checking it. So this is a way to check whether I am getting the right folder path. And then I use the regular OpenAI embeddings, and I use face local and give the folder path. And then after that, it's a regular method of working with Langchain. The key point is how to get the input. And then after that, I use a try except here, so that if there is any error, I can understand what is the error. This is one of the reasons why I use try except. And then if there is if I click on get output, so this is also a button. Let me go back here. So you see this button here, this is the get output button. And if there is an event of get output, and if I have to use get output, then this new DB has to be assigned, or else what will happen? I will not be able to get the output, right? So both should be there. Then only this particular query will get executed, or else it will not. And after I execute this, I use a simple retrieval QA chain, and then I get the output. So when I am going to get the output, I am going to place it in the text, and I am going to update the output. So what does this mean? So if you go up here, you see I am giving the text as a key. You see this location, so I am telling, so this is going to be the output location, and this particular output location of text has to be updated with the value that I get from the retrieval QA chain. So this is what I'm doing with the code. Now you might be wondering, Kamal, this is actually confusing. You have actually introduced lots of technologies. Now you are introducing me Langchain, you are introducing me the large language models, you are telling the open source models can be interfaced. This is a lot of things to learn in a single go. Okay, the point here is that you have to learn additional technologies for you guys to make a usable application. It's not just learning LLM, or it's not just learning the GUI is going to help you. You have to bring applications together and solve multiple problems so that you can have a usable product. So this is one of the key points that I wanted to share in this discussion. Now, what I want you guys to do is, I will also make another one video where I integrate the vector source creation also by using various images, various files, etc., and show you how to do that by using open source again. So I'll be using that options only, and incorporate memory and voice. So all these things can be separate projects itself in its own right. So try this out. If you have any questions, do reach me out. I believe that you will like this sort of content and also like this sort of challenges. Try it out. The most important point is that you might be thinking that it may not be possible. It will take a lot of time. Actually, it doesn't. All it will take is, for you guys to sit with the laptop or your computer for 4 to 5 hours, start solving problems one by one, and you will be able to get through in no time. This positive mindset is more important. With that said, I would like to come to the close of this particular video as usual with 4 words, that is practice, 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 practice. See you guys. Have a great time.